Welcome to the Security Brief for Week 46. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and share this news. To our first story, nearly 57 million customers of Hot Topic, Box Lunch, and Torrid have been pawned. The breach was flagged by the cybersecurity whistleblowers at Have I Been Pawned? Apparently some cyber baddie named Satanic. Yes, he called himself Satanic. He decided to go full villain and list 350 million records on breach forums, trying to cash in for a modest $20,000. The stolen data includes your full name, email address, phone number, and even your physical address, and also snagged partial credit card details. The Hudson Rock cybersecurity detectives suspect the breach was caused by an information stealer malware that infiltrated a data unification service Hot Topic used. In simpler terms, someone clicked a bad link, and suddenly all your angsty purchases are now public domain. A data analytics firm, Atlas Privacy, says the breach impacts 54 million customers, including a whopping 25 million credit card numbers. These were encrypted, but let's just say the encryption is about as strong as those banned t-shirts after their first wash. Oh, and Satanic's asking ransom payment price has now dropped from $100,000 to $4,000. It seems like this dark lord is having a fire sale or Black Friday deals on your secrets. How has Hot Topic handled this? Silence. Yep, as quiet as the mall after closing time. They've said nothing. Maybe they're stuck in an endless loop of skipping ads on YouTube, or maybe they're hoping no one notices. If you were a customer, consider this your cue to lock down your digital life tighter than a pair of skinny jeans from 2007. Moving on. The FBI, NSA, and the Five Eyes Alliance have just released their annual mixtape of the top 15 vulnerabilities that hackers loved exploiting in 2023. Think of it as the now that's what I call 0 days of cyber threats. These vulnerabilities were the Beyoncé of bugs, consistently topping the charts. Here's a sample of the hits. Citrix NetScaler's code injection party. This one alone backdoored over 2,000 servers faster than you can say. Log4Shell. Yes, this classic from 2021 is still hanging out like that one guy who won't leave the party. And Cisco iOS XE's command injection mix. A must-have for hackers looking to spice up their playlists. 12 out of the top 15 vulnerabilities started as 0 days, proving that attackers love their bugs fresh out of the oven. The report doesn't just stop at the top 15. Apparently, even hardware got its moment in the vulnerability spotlight this year. So what can you do? Patch your stuff. Seriously, don't wait for an invitation. Set up a patch management system, because we can't trust you to remember. Stop reusing passwords. Your cat's name isn't fooling anyone. They're already queuing up for next year's vulnerabilities, so let's make their job harder. Remember, a patch system is a boring system, and boring doesn't get hacked. Moving on. Last week we reported that D-Link won't be patching legacy devices. Now hackers have officially set their sights on outdated D-Link network-attached storage devices, proving once again that end of life doesn't mean end of target. D-Link made it clear they won't be patching these devices because, well, they're old. Instead, the company recommends users retire them or upgrade to newer models. Meanwhile, attackers noticed the lack of a fix and started targeting the vulnerability on November 12th. Shadow Server, a threat monitoring group, confirmed the exploit attempts, warning that these devices should be immediately disconnected from the internet. Shadow Server found just over 1,100 internet-exposed D-Link NAS devices in their scans. But NetSecFish? They identified more than 41,000 unique vulnerable IPs. That's a lot of digital sitting ducks. This isn't just about losing access to your favorite files. These vulnerabilities have previously been leveraged in ransomware attacks. Combine that with no automatic updates or alert systems, and you've got a recipe for cyber disaster. D-Link essentially said, good luck out there. Replace them with something newer and more secure. Cross their fingers, apparently. Moving on, Bitdefender has just dropped a decryptor for ShrinkLocker ransomware, proving once again that cybersecurity isn't just about firewalls. It's about fighting fire with better nerds. ShrinkLocker, discovered earlier this year, is like the DIY ramen of ransomware. Cheap, simple, and not exactly gourmet. It's built on decade-old VB script and filled with typos, which might make you chuckle, until it locks your critical systems and asks for a ransom. Bitdefender's analysis suggests the hackers behind this strain aren't exactly winning any cyber Oscars. But hey, even amateurs can cause big problems, as seen in a healthcare attack where ShrinkLocker encrypted systems in just 2.5 hours, potentially putting lives at risk. ShrinkLocker doesn't reinvent the wheel. It uses BitLocker, Windows' own drive encryption tool, to lock your files. Talk about fighting you with your own sword. If BitLocker it's not there, ShrinkLocker kindly installs it for you. How thoughtful. In an impressive twist, Bitdefender developed a decryptor that essentially says, "Not today, ShrinkLocker." The tool finds a sneaky window of opportunity right after the ransomware deletes BitLocker's protectors. It then recovers the encryption password and reverses the whole mess, unlocking your data and giving you back control. Download Bitdefender's decryptor and put it on a USB drive. Reboot your infected system into BitLocker recovery mode. Skip ahead to advanced options and open a command prompt. Launch the decryptor and let it work its magic. The process may take time depending on your system's hardware, but hey, it beats paying the ransom or staring at the BitLocker screen while questioning your life choice. Bitdefender's decryptor works on Windows 10, 11, and recent Windows Server versions, but it's most effective when used shortly after the attack. If ShrinkLocker has fully overridden BitLocker configurations, this hero tool may not save the day. So folks, update your systems, back up your data, and for heaven's sake stop clicking on weird email links. With tools like this decryptor, the good guys are winning the battle, one amateur ransomware strain at a time. On to our next news story. The Department of Justice has dropped the hammer on 2 hackers accused of turning Snowflake cloud accounts into their personal extortion playground. Connor Riley Muka and John Aaron Binns are at the center of an audacious scheme that compromised over 165 organizations, extorted millions, and left a trail of cyber breadcrumbs across the globe. Muka, known online as Waifu or Judisha, was apprehended last month in Canada, while his alleged partner in crime, Binns, alias Erdev, was arrested earlier this year in Turkey. These 2 digital bandits allegedly hijacked Snowflake accounts by stealing login credentials with malware. Once inside, they exploited accounts that lacked multi-factor authentication, exfiltrating terabytes of sensitive data. One of the most shocking breaches attributed to the duo involved a major U.S. telecommunications company, believed to be AT&T. The hackers allegedly stole approximately 50 billion call and text records, exposing data from 109 million customers. After the breach, AT&T reportedly paid the ransom in cryptocurrency, but these cybercriminals didn't stop there. They tried to launder the ransom through a convoluted series of transactions, converting it into Monero cryptocurrency for added anonymity. Spoiler alert, their efforts to stay hidden failed spectacularly. The DOJ's indictment paints a picture of a cybercrime enterprise fueled by greed. Over the course of their operation, Muka and Binns are accused of extorting 3 victims for at least $2.5 million in Bitcoin. For victims who refused to pay, the hackers allegedly sold the stolen data on underground forums, profiting off their ill-gotten gains. And so, the saga of the Snowflake hackers comes full circle. What began as a bold, globe-spanning crime spree now stands as another cautionary tale in the annals of cyber justice. Moving on, Idaho man Robert Purbeck, also known by his online aliases LifeLock and Studmaster, has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for a string of cybercrimes. Purbeck hacked into at least 19 organizations, stole the personal data of over 132,000 individuals, and extorted victims with chilling threats. Purbeck's criminal exploits began in 2017 when he purchased illicit access to a Georgia medical clinic's server on a darknet marketplace. Using this foothold, he exfiltrated sensitive personal information, including names, addresses, and social security numbers, for 43,000 individuals. But Purbeck didn't stop at healthcare. Just months later, in February 2018, he infiltrated the server of a Georgia police department, stealing reports, documents, and the PII of 14,000 more victims. Purbeck's sentencing underscores the severity of cybercrimes, particularly those targeting sensitive industries like healthcare and law enforcement. His actions disrupted lives, violated privacy, and caused significant financial and emotional harm to his victims. The sentence reflects a broader commitment by law enforcement to hold cybercriminals accountable, no matter how sophisticated their methods or how amateurish their aliases. Moving on, with the Black Friday frenzy around the corner, a financially motivated fraud network dubbed SilkSpectre is capitalizing on the season of deals to steal payment card details from unsuspecting online buyers. Disguised as legitimate online stores, this operation has launched nearly 4,700 fake websites to lure in bargain hunters across the US and Europe. SilkSpectre's campaign, which kicked off in October 2024, is a masterclass in deceit. These fraudulent sites mimic popular brands like The North Face, Lidl, Bath and Body Works, IKEA, and Wayfair, offering irresistible discounts to prey on the shopping fever associated with the holiday season. Many of the fake domains include Black Friday in their URLs, baiting shoppers who are actively searching for the best deals. Once a victim clicks buy, the trouble begins. Shoppers are directed to a payment page where they're prompted to input their credit card number, expiration date, CVV code, and even their phone number. While the sites integrate Stripe, a legitimate payment processor, the transaction isn't as secure as it seems. While Stripe processes the payment, the phishing kit secretly exfiltrates the victim's card details to SilkSpectre's servers. Victims not only lose money from their fraudulent purchases, but also have their card details harvested for further criminal use. Adding insult to injury, the stolen phone numbers can be used for follow-up SMS or voice phishing attacks, particularly targeting two-factor authentication, 2FA mechanisms tied to the compromised card data. SilkSpectre's operation is a stark reminder that cybercriminals follow the money, and during the holiday shopping season, the money flows fast. Their well-crafted schemes show how even trusted tools like Stripe can be leveraged for nefarious purposes. Moving on to our last story, the curtain falls on one of the most dramatic cybercrime cases in cryptocurrency history. Ilya Lichtenstein, the hacker behind the infamous 2016 Bitfinex hack, has been sentenced to 5 years in prison by U.S. authorities. His daring theft of 119,754 Bitcoin, worth $78 million at the time, ballooned to a staggering $3.6 billion when the stolen cryptocurrency was seized in 2022. The story began with a vulnerability in Bitfinex's multi-signature withdrawal system, which Lichtenstein exploited with surgical precision. The flaw allowed him to bypass the approval mechanism meant to safeguard withdrawals and authorize over 2,000 fraudulent transactions. In addition to siphoning off Bitcoin directly from Bitfinex's wallets, Lichtenstein also stole user credentials and drained funds from accounts on other exchanges where victims had reused their login information. Lichtenstein's cunning didn't stop at the theft itself. To cover his tracks, he meticulously deleted log files from Bitfinex's servers that might have implicated him. After waiting several months to avoid immediate suspicion, he began a calculated process of laundering the stolen funds. His wife, Heather Morgan, also known as Razzlecon, a self-styled rapper and entrepreneur, joined him in an elaborate money laundering operation that spanned years. The case doesn't end here. Heather Morgan, Lichtenstein's accomplice, awaits her sentencing on November 18, 2024. Meanwhile, under the federal rules of criminal procedure, individuals or entities who believe they have a legitimate claim to the recovered assets, including Bitcoin, Ether, stablecoins, and gold, can now file for restitution. The Bitfinex hack serves as a sobering reminder of the high stakes and vulnerabilities in the world of cryptocurrency. While blockchain technology offers a veneer of anonymity, this case demonstrates that sophisticated laundering tactics are no match for determined investigators. That's it for this week's news. Which story did you find most interesting, or any story that you wish was included? Make sure you comment under. Make sure to subscribe, and I see you soon.